it sends the PIN from the terminal to the card. So it could be that the fraudster could type in any random PIN, but then when the PIN is passed to the real card in the fraudster's terminal, it just overwrites it with a real one. But we did this one just in case the terminal sends the PIN to the bank. So to explain what you just saw there, here's the scenario. On the left-hand side, you've got Alice, who's the innocent victim and who knows the right PIN and has the real card. And on the right-hand side, you have Dave, who is a legitimate merchant selling, in this case, the bookshop. And he has a customer coming in who wants to buy a £50 book. But actually what's happening is there's Bob and Carol, the two evil participants. And Bob has this fake chip and PIN terminal, and that says, in the case of the video, do you wish to pay for a £5 cup of coffee? It then reads the details off the card and sends it to the laptop, and then we used 802.11b wireless to send it to the other laptop in the backpack in the other shop. In this case, the two shops were one door away from each other, and that worked pretty well. But you could just as easily do this with GPRS or GSM and do it at the other side of the world. The laptop then sends the red card details to a fake card, which has a wire coming off it, and plugs this into Dave's terminal. And each time Dave's terminal asks the card to prove itself, it just passes a message onto Alice's card and then sends the response back again. So from Dave's perspective, the customer has come in with the real card, he knows the right PIN, but the legitimate cardholder won't find out what's happened until she gets the bill. So here's the equipment that we used. On the left-hand side, you can see the chip and PIN terminal that we tampered with. The device in here is an FPGA, and we use this to control the screen and the keypad. There's another off-the-shelf smart card reader, which is used for getting the data off the card, and you can see the front view of it down here. So apart from where we've covered up the manufacturer's logo, the terminal looks just like normal. On top, here's another FPGA, also from Xilinx, and all this does is emulates a card. So the smart card protocol is quite close to RS-232, but not exactly. So the FPGA handles all the timing, and then this little board here handles the voltage, because this is a 3.3 volt board, and the smart card protocol is normally 5 volts. And up here is a real credit card, but we've soldered lines onto the back of the chip contacts and removed the real chip from this. And then we've got a short wire that you can see going up my sleeve in order to pay for it. It might seem as if going into a shop with a card on a wire is quite suspicious, but actually when I tried this, it really wasn't a problem, because firstly, merchants are trained not to look at the chip and PIN terminal when you're typing in the PIN, and also it's recommended by the banks that you cover up the keypad when you're typing in the PIN, and it turns out that if I did that, the merchant wouldn't be able to see the wire coming off. So this is the problem. What can be done against it? Well, one thing is to make terminals tamper resistant. They already are. This is that if you open up a real chip and PIN terminal, it will wipe all the keys that it stores. But this actually isn't a problem, because all we do is rip out the existing circuit boards and put in our own. We never want this terminal to talk to the banks again. The fact that it doesn't know any keys isn't really a problem. And even if we did have to tamper it a little bit, cardholders aren't trained to tell the difference between a real terminal and a fake terminal. There's almost 300 approved chip and PIN terminal types in the UK. And I've seen plenty of chip and PIN terminals where the cover is broken and there's duct tape holding it together. I even saw one where all the tamper-resistant seals were broken on the back. Now, probably it wasn't trying to defraud me, it was just the engineer didn't have the right seals when he was cleaning up the terminal. One thing the merchant can do is physically examine the smart card and check whether it's got wires coming off it or if it looks a bit suspicious. But that's not much of a problem, because you can use RFID card in order.
Excuse me?
Yes?
Just here, over here. on your right side.
Yep, hello.
All right, I got one question. You have accomplice in the store, so about the timing, how time critical is it? Because the victim has to put the card into the fake reader, and
yep.
at the same moment, your accomplice in the other store or wherever has to put it into the real card reader, or?
Not exactly the same moment.
Maybe not exactly, but it should be about seconds, right?
And you can actually extend it longer. The only requirement is that the real card is in the fake terminal during the fake transaction, during the transaction. So what could happen is that I go and buy my diamonds, and then I've got my Bluetooth headset, and then it waits until the card's been plugged in, and then it sends me a message saying, now plug in your card. And if you're buying something like a diamond, then the shop assistant will be very tolerant about you trying to make up your mind whether you're going to do this. Another thing you can do is a smart card can tell the terminal to wait. So the smart card at the terminal asks the fake card a question. It doesn't know the answer because the real one hasn't been plugged in. So it just sends a response code saying, please call me again in 3 seconds, and then it can do this indefinitely.
So did I understand it right that it's just limited to, the time is just limited to the victim, how long he is willing to put his card or to leave his card in the terminal?
Yeah, that's only the limitation.
Would be a couple of minutes in the best case?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you saw from the video, when the customer plugged into their card, the terminal said dialing, and it's not actually doing that,
all right.
That's just stalling.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, and you just need to tell the customer that the card is, the telephone lines have broken and it's going to take a little while. I've been using legitimate transactions where it's 10 or 20 seconds, and that's more than enough to not cause the legitimate merchant to be suspicious. So another thing to do is that you could, the merchant could make sure that the numbers embossed on the card presented by the fraudster actually match the ones on the receipt. And in the demo that we gave, they wouldn't, because we used one of our friends' cards for making the fake, but the real card, which was plugged in and is going to talk to the terminal, is going to be different. Now, this is quite inconvenient for merchants to do, and they're probably not going to do it. But even if they did, all the fraudster has to do is target repeat customers. So you come in one day, you pay, and then they record your card detail, and then overnight they make a fake card with the contacts coming off with the same card number. So a final option is to impose some timing constraints. Make sure that the real card, the card presented, responds within a certain time period. Now this is a good start because no information can travel faster than the speed of light. And if you can somehow measure the distance between the real terminal and the real card, if this is more than a few centimeters, then you know that something's wrong. So we looked at what happens with the real existing smart card protocol and what timing tolerances are there. Oh, one we tried had a 3-second round-trip delay, which is huge. And at the speed of light, you can go 11 times around the Earth to the moon and back. You can't quite get to Mars, so Martian smart cards are safe. And it's not even possible with the existing smart card protocol to reduce the timing requirements to a sufficiently low level that this type of attack doesn't work. Because smart cards are really slow. They're something like 9,600 BPS. And transactions are quite long. They're a few hundred bytes. So if you just slow the card down or speed it up by a few percent, then you can get quite a significant distance advantage. So the fix to this is to use the distance bounding protocol. And here, you send 1-bit challenges and get 1-bit responses. And because those are very short and you send them very fast, you get much, much better performance and are able to make a much more accurate estimation of the distance. So here's roughly the protocol. The verifier, in this case the terminal, sends a 1-bit challenge to the prover, in this case the card. And because the bank and the card know this key, the response that comes back can only be given by the real card. So even in the case of a relay attack, The right data will come back, but it will just be too slow. So if Matt could come up and give me a hand, I'm going to try to do a demonstration of how this protocol can work. So, never tried this before, never been rehearsed, so we'll see how it goes. So what Matt has are 2 tubes of tennis balls, and inside of these are green and orange balls. These represent bits. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up a flag for what tube I want the contents of, and what will happen is Matt will take the one out of the tube I asked for and give that to me, and then he also takes the ball out of the other tube and then throws that away. So I'll show why this is important later. So firstly, I'll hold up the orange flag, and that. Thanks. And Matt will take the one out of there. Here. And I got a green one out of there, as shown on the screen. So now I'll hold up the green one. Thank you. And now I've got an orange one. And finally, I'll hold the orange one up. And I got the green one out. So because I got the answer I expected, I know that Matt had access to the real tennis tubes. And this is roughly how the protocol works. If Matt was an imposter, thanks for your help, Matt. If Matt was an imposter, he wouldn't know which colour of ball to throw at me. And I can time how long it took for me holding up my flag to when I received that, and then know how far Matt was away from me. If, on the other hand, the real Matt was hiding in the hack centre and it was imposter standing in front, then the imposter would have to run down to the hack centre, hold up another flag, and then get the right answer, and then run all the way back and hand it over to me. And you can do the same thing with electric current, and you can actually get very good distance bounds. At worst, the implementation we gave, you could work out whether someone was within about 7 meters. In practice, it would probably be closer to centimeters. So here's the protocol in same thing as before, but now in more cryptographic terms. This is called the Hanke-Kuhn protocol, after Gerhard Hanke and Markus Kuhn, who developed it. And this was originally used for wireless devices like MyFair to work out how far the real card is away from the real reader. So the first step is the terminal sends a nonce to the card, and the card sends a nonce back to the terminal. That's the step up here. Nonce stands for number used once, and this allows the card, this makes sure that you're not replaying a previous transaction because the nonces are going to change. And then, using the key that the real card and the real terminal share, they generate a new random number, and that represents the contents of the tennis ball tubes. And it takes this random number, splits it in two, and puts one into shift register 0, the green one, and puts the rest into shift register 1, the orange one. And the verifier does the same thing, because he knows what random number is going to be generated. And then the high-speed part of the protocol is that the verifier sends a single-bit challenge. That was the flag I was holding up. And then based on that challenge, you either choose the top or bottom shift register. You take the bit off the shift register and send that one back, and the verifier can know whether this is correct. And just like Matt threw one of the balls away, the other one is thrown away. I'll show you why that's important. And then once all the bits have been collected, these can be now verified, and the verifier checks that all the bits came promptly, so make sure that the card isn't too far away, and then sends it off to the bank to make sure the bits were correct. So let's see what attacks are possible if you want to try to defraud that system. Well, firstly, if I was talking to an